This is the O Show.
Oh.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the O Show, where it's time for your daily nugget of psych science. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Hannah, and I can't wait to get started on today's psych nugget. Today we'll be talking about how mean people, including yourself, can tear each other down and what you can do to get back up. The human existence, especially in the awkward stages of youth, is an emotional roller coaster. Ups and downs define our emotional states throughout life, with emotional triggers bringing about these peaks and dips in emotional states. There's a lot of variation in what can trigger emotional expressions and feelings, just as there's a lot of variation in the number of emotions and expressions we can have. Of the many feelings and expressions the human mind and face can pose, the negative emotions seem to have a greater impact on the human body and psyche. We'll be discussing the effects of criticism, stress, and deception on emotions and expressions, and how the divergence of reaction can lead to overcoming negative affect. So hopefully by the end of today's psych nugget, you'll be able to bounce back from those haters and get out of your funky mood, like our friend Taylor Swift.
You, with your words like knives and swords and weapons that you use against me, you have knocked me off my feet again, got me feeling like a nothing. You, with your voice like...
So first, we need to figure out what negative affect is. An affect is essentially a mood that has both positive and negative avenues for emotional expression. According to our text here by John Marshall Reed, positive affect reflects pleasurable engagement and refers to the everyday, low-level general state of feeling good. It's how you feel on your most perfect day, sandy toes, fruity snacks and drinks with umbrellas in them, and a great mysterious read. Maybe that's just me. So on the other hand is the negative side. Negative affect reflects unpleasant engagement, and it generally makes you feel dissatisfied, nervous, and irritable. These two factors, working simultaneously, constitute the essential nature of everyday, ongoing, affective experience. Our everyday moods, in other words. I'm so excited to explore this stuff further as part of our O Show Psych Nugget. Of the many things that can bring your high-flying attitude to a screaming nosedive is criticism. Sources of criticism can include outside sources, like a boss, a teacher, peers, or your parents. Criticism can also come from yourself, and that can sometimes be the most difficult to overcome. Here's an example of how other people's criticism can really bring you down. If you've ever seen the show Curb Your Enthusiasm, then you're familiar with this theme song playing now. The show was written and produced by Larry David, a funny guy who's also the father of the Seinfeld show. His humor in writing has brought laughter and smiles to people around the world. His success in the entertainment business puts him in the spotlight for recognition at the grocery store, walking down the street, even at a Yankees baseball game. According to a Rolling Stone interview, he went to a Yankees baseball game to cheer on his favorite team. The field camera panned over his presence and put his image on the Megatron as the Curb Your Enthusiasm theme song played on the loudspeakers. His talent and celebrity were celebrated in front of thousands of fans. That night, after such a huge gesture of compliment and hundreds of others from complete strangers, there was one person who shouted as Larry David left the stadium, "Larry David, you suck!" Of the thousands of celebrants that cheered him on that night, Larry really could only recall the one critique, and it apparently ruined his evening. How is it that when you're congratulated on something great or complimented on your beauty or talents, you can really only fixate on the negativity that's directed at us? Think about it. Can you recall the last time someone complimented something you had done well? Or can you recall the last time you were critiqued for something? More than likely, you'll be a person like Larry who only ever hears the bad over the good. Perhaps Larry's story is related to something to do with personality types. An article was recently published in Sweden that examined the importance of the dynamic self-esteem structure for depressive personality styles of self-criticism and dependency. What the researchers found was that self-criticism is a function of self-esteem based on competence. They also found that dependency is related to a low basic sense of self-esteem and affiliation needs. Quoting from the study, "It is concluded that self-criticism and dependency represent distinct vulnerable personality styles in which self-esteem structure plays a role in regulating cognitive motivational mechanisms with relevance for adjustment and well-being." This applies our personality styles to the way we react to negative affect in the form of criticism. So maybe Larry David is a little too self-conscious and dependent on what others think of him and his work, which is such a shame because he really is a genius. Self-criticism is the other way that negativity can bring us down. Some people self-depreciate their efforts, their good works, their characters or personalities, or their goal achievements. But what purpose does that serve in the motivation to succeed? A recent study decided to specifically focus on the self-criticism tendencies, motivations, and goal progress of athletes and musicians. What those scientists found was that intrinsic motivation mediates the effect of self-criticism on goal progress. The prospective study also indicated that there is some negative relationship between a person's self-criticism and their motivation and goal progress, and that the negative affect of self-critics is contingent on their perception of goal achievement. What this means is that the level of a person's self-confidence and motivation can determine their ability to reach a goal. We have an interview here with a Center College athlete who wants to share how she deals with self-criticism and how that affects her game. So I'm here with a female soccer player for the Center College Colonel soccer team. She's going to tell me a little bit about how criticism affects her game on the soccer team. Do you think self-criticism helps you or hurts your goal achievement?
I think that self-criticism to a point is really beneficial because without evaluating your skills or evaluating yourself and criticizing it, you're not going to get any better and you're not going to know what to improve on or how to make yourself the best player or whatever you can be. But there's also, if there's too much of that and not enough positive aspect or positive reinforcement, then that could be just as detrimental. Soccer is a lot about confidence, and part of that, it comes from positivity, but it's also knowing, but criticizing yourself and making yourself better, but has to be a balance.